Hey guys, welcome back to Barbecue Beer Brothers. I hope you're having a great day. I'm about to roll smoke and get the burgers and poppers and hot dogs going for the 4th of July. And while I was thinking about what I'm gonna do in preparation for that, I thought what I would do for preparation if I had a fuel failure. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about fuel failure from barbecue or from charcoal. I'm talking about fuel failure from having a fan failure. And what are you going to do from a backup or contingency plan if that happens to you? Well, I've actually gone through the last month through some testing, and I've been testing the CoolerGuys fans. I'm not sponsored by them, but I will leave a link in the description below to the two fans that I'm talking about. One of the fans that I'm referencing is the 120 by 120 by 38 millimeter and the 120 by 120 by 25 millimeter. Now here's a comparison in the size. This is the factory 38 millimeter and this is the aftermarket 25 millimeter. You can actually operate the 25 millimeter in lieu of the 38 millimeter perfectly fine. There's no issue there. What you're really looking for is the cubic feet per minute that these fans put out. The factory fan is actually putting out 109 cubic feet per minute. In the 38 millimeter CoolerGuys fan, that fan is producing 156 cubic feet per minute. Now my recommendation is if you're going to go with a 120 by 120 by 38 millimeter fan, is to use something like the FireBoard. And that will allow you to adjust that fan up and down as necessary. It just so happens that that is the configuration of my 1050. I went with that solution so that I could regulate where I wanted that heat or that volume of air flowing through. I've had nothing but success with it. Now on my 560, I'm running the factory controller, and I decided to go with the 25 millimeter version. And the 25 millimeter version operates at 105 cubic feet per minute, whereas the factory is 109. So it's almost identical in size and shape and operates flawlessly. Now I've actually had these fans installed for some time now doing these testing, and I haven't had any issues. The one thing that we might want to discuss and really kind of get into is the wiring. So I mentioned that you could buy the factory fan and they run about $25. Now the problem with the $25 fan is you still have to pick up some JST cables, right? And so if you're going to have to pick up JST cables, why wouldn't you go with a fan that has a better warranty? It's built stronger and tougher, and it's going to produce exactly or similar results as far as the cubic feet per minute. So that was my reasoning behind going with the CoolerGuys fan. Now the difference is the CoolerGuys fans actually come 3-wire, whereas the factory is 2-wire. Now I'll annotate here on the screen what you need to do to hook that up. The 3-wire fan actually has a positive, a negative, and an RPM sensor fan, and that's for a computer or another device to monitor the speed of that fan. The middle wire is actually your positive, and it's going to go to your red. The outside wire that's labeled number 1 will go to your neutral, and the third wire you can cut back and peel off. You don't actually need it in our application. Again, I'm running in my 1050 the 10 by 20 by 38 millimeter 156 cubic foot per minute fan, and I'm able to dial that back as necessary with the FireBoard. Listen, can you run that same fan on the factory controller? I believe you could. However, I didn't take the risk because, well, listen, I didn't want the factory controller to over crank it thinking that it's at 100% and it's supposed to be at 109 cubic feet, but it's really at 156. I didn't know if that would cause issues, and that's why I chose to go away from it. Now, here's one thing I didn't talk about, and I think it's probably pretty important for us, and that is if you choose not to go with the aftermarket fan in your backup plan, you might want to go ahead and go out and try to add some precautions to this factory fan position. In the factory position, this wire is in the up position. Being that it's a 120 by 120, you can turn it just by removing the screws and reattaching it with this cable in the lower position. Run some heat shield on top of this, and that should give you some more life out of that cable. Now let's talk about troubleshooting the fan for a second. Obviously, if the fan stops working, well, you have a number of things that could be flaw. It could be the wiring, it could be the fan, it could be the controller. It's pretty easy to determine whether the controller is good or bad. It's going to show you an error or it's not going to operate. In most cases, if you have a switch that's bad, you're going to see an error on the screen as well, and it's not just going to decline, and that would tell you that it's probably a fan issue. Now, that's not always the case. I actually ran into a situation this last weekend where my switch looks absolutely perfect and I'm not throwing any errors on my factory controller. And if you're running an aftermarket controller with the factory wiring setup, well, you're not going to see any errors pop up on your FireBoard either. So I didn't see any errors, and I wasn't having any fan motion. So there's two ways to troubleshoot this. The first way to troubleshoot is, or I guess there's a couple ways to troubleshoot it, or a few ways to troubleshoot it, but the first is just a visual inspection. Open the door and hit the plunger, make sure it's working, and make sure it's not broken or melted off. If it's broken or melted off, then you automatically know what the problem is, and it's within that switch. And we'll talk about how you can get around that switch in just a moment. Now, if they all look good, then my recommendation is to go grab your backup fan and plug your backup fan in. If your backup fan comes on, then you know it's not a switch and it's actually the fan itself. Remove the 4 screws, put your fan in, and away you go. If the fan doesn't come on, then you know it's a potential for one of these switches to be bad. Now let's talk about troubleshooting. Now, if you've bought a backup fan as a contingency plan, then you have these JST cables around, and all you have to do is come in and wire tie or wire nut them together. That is going to create a closed loop for that circuit. The best way to troubleshoot that then is at the lower 3 plugs. You can knock out 2 of the switches at one time in your troubleshooting. There are 3 plugs down on the right hand side, and let me get them shaped here. There you go. You'll notice there's one male and 2 female plugs, one female and 2 male plugs at the bottom. And if you'll notice, your fan is actually plugged in to the male plug. So your female plugs, I'm saying that backwards, my apologies. The 2 male plugs, these 2 male plugs, are what are going to connect to the switch. I'm saying female because this is actually the female plug that you built as a loop. You're going to come in and plug it in, and if your fan comes on, then you'll know what switch is bad. And it's easy to determine which switch is bad. Your really skinny wire that is plugged in here at the connector goes to the ash pan door, and the really thick wire, the one that has the bigger thick heat shield, is the one that goes to the upper hopper door, right? So you can figure out which one just by a process of elimination. Now, if you plug in and your fan comes on, you know it's that switch. You can leave this in place and it will operate perfectly fine until you get a replacement switch. Now, in the event that those 2 switches, neither one of them work, then it may be the actual switch for the main grill-in area. Again, you can use this same jumper to troubleshoot, and that is done at the controller itself. Right through the firewall on that left-hand shelf, you're going to notice 2 cables, again, a thick one and a thin one, and it's your thin one that is actually that switch. Again, unplug this from the controller wire harness and plug this one in. If your fan comes on, then you know that it's the switch at the main grilling area. Now, let's take the last step, and that is, if you didn't have or you don't have these JST connectors and you don't have a fan as a backup, then you really have to start with troubleshooting the switches themselves. And the best way to do that is, again, the visual inspection, and hit the plunger, and if it comes on, then you know it's that switch or you're having a loose connection of some sort. The other option is to take the cabling and take your switch out, and you will have the cabling there, and you can remove this wiring connection. Now, my replacement cabling here has a white hood on it, but the ones in my grill are actually black, and all you can do is pull them right off, or you can slide them down on the wire as you see fit. Now, the easy way is, once you unplug them, you can just hold them together, and if your fan comes on, you're going to know it's that switch. And you can do one of 2 things here. You can take a small zip tie and zip tie them together, fold them over, and electrical tape them closed, and continue your operation. If you choose that you don't want to have that fan, or you plan to replace that, now that could be a permanent solution for you. Or you could just strip the wires and wire nut them together, and that's even an easier solution than taping them off. Now, that's a quick and easy way to determine whether or not it's a switch. Unfortunately, you have to go switch by switch to do that, and I would start, in my opinion, I would start with the one that's at the grill area, because it's more likely to get hit and damaged. Now, I actually had a fan failure this weekend, as I mentioned, and it wasn't actually a fan failure. It was actually this switch. And I ended up not having a JST file on me, or this JST jumper on me. I actually, or I should say this JST jumper on me, I actually had to just pull the wires back and tie them off. Well, I have no plan on actually putting a switch back in, so I just stripped the wires, put a wire nut, put a little electrical tape, and tied them inside the outside of the way of melting from the grill, and I was good to go. Listen, I hope this helps you guys troubleshoot your fans. I hope it gives you an idea on having a contingency plan, and I hope that just through this process of elimination, you can figure out which switch may or may not be bad. Listen, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the subscriptions, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.